Undocumented migrants, including asylum seekers and failed asylum seekers, get priority preferential medical treatment ahead of everybody else. I can confirm that this is true because I saw this headline from the Telegraph and decided to look into it for myself. And it is absolutely true. Now, I'll just say as a caveat, this video is not designed to stir up any kind of tensions and hatred among anybody. These are just facts because somebody has asked me to look into it, and I've seen this article here, and I have looked into it, and it's absolutely 100% true. So first of all, if you're new to me, I am Daniel Shensmith, a barrister of England and Wales, and I enjoy to help you understand law and as it applies to news and current events on this channel. So I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe. I'm just about to hit 700,000 subscribers. Very grateful to you all for that. My goal is a minimum of 1 million subscribers. So let's take a look at this evidence that I've found here. As you know, the NHS across the board under NHS England has various guidelines, etc., and each trust runs according to those guidelines, but also make up their own little policies and so on. So without going through all of the details of that, this is one such policy. This is dubbed the 987 Inclusion Health Programme. 987, so that they can just type in 987 and find those in the subject line very easily. And in short, this confirms that as an eligibility criteria, for patients that struggle attending A&E due to long delays and waiting to be seen, they say this can cause problems. And so there's an eligibility criteria for those to be seen as a priority. The eligibility criteria, in some part you might think is perfectly understandable, includes those that are homeless. Now again, some of you may feel that that's perfectly understandable. Some of you may feel that they should wait like everybody else. But that's for you to decide. That's a subjective view you may hold. And it's not for me to tell you what you should think here. Secondly, those who have used or do use illicit substances. Obviously, for those of you that may not be aware, there can be severe withdrawal symptoms, and so they may need immediate attention. And so those are in this eligibility criteria as well. Equally, alcohol abuse, but also those who are undocumented migrants. So that would include asylum seekers, it would include failed asylum seekers, and so on. And they are given, as it's described here, access to tests and treatments, but without the prolonged waits and other problems associated with attending A&E spontaneously. In other words, for everybody else, if you walk in, you have to wait. And if anyone's been to A&E recently, you'll know that across the country, there are many, many hours of waiting time, even in the accident and emergency departments. However, it's reported that undocumented migrants are attending these sort of centres and being seen by a doctor within 15 minutes, admitted if necessary, and treated accordingly. Now, it does say that under this programme, this is a planned attendance and must be arranged by the UCH team at a time and agreed with the referrer. But all that means is that on the day when they attend, rather than main reception, they are directed to be seen by this centre. Usually, as it says here, within 15 minutes. They then perform blood tests and other simple assessments, and before going on to more thorough evaluation, particular focus on the acute issues, etc., more tests, even admission if necessary. So they're then admitted for further treatment. Now, when we look at the general migrant health page for the North Central London, this still says under review. This was due to be reviewed by August 2021. So the information may be outdated. I don't know who manages this website, but it's clearly out of date. But nonetheless, it goes through various documents like this. Now, I'll come back to the NHS England guidelines in just a moment. Now, just a couple of balancing thoughts here. First of all, there is a duty upon the NHS to provide what is referred to as reasonable adjustments under the Equality Act 2010. That is a reasonable adjustment that is to cater for those that may have a protected characteristic and therefore ensure that they get fair and equal treatment. Now, whilst on the one hand, there may be arguments that members of certain groups are at greater need than others, and that is well rehearsed within these documents, so I would strongly recommend, if you do want to form informed views upon all of this, go and read these documents in full, because it does go through, to be fair, it does go through all of the strong reasoning as to why they do need such treatment. For example, on the NHS England National Framework website here, which again specifies vulnerable vulnerable migrants and refugees. It does go through a few arguments as to why this is necessary, that there is a cost of doing nothing. But there's a bit of a contradictory point here where it says vulnerable migrants report limited access to translation services, which greatly impacts their capacity and confidence to engage in care and support. Now, as I said, the NHS has a standard duty to provide reasonable adjustments, which includes translation services. Now, there are strong arguments, really, that as to how far those translation services should go, and that if someone is living here, that they should commit to speaking English. Those are certainly strong debates with strong views on both sides, and you may have your own views about that. But as to the access of those translation services, taxpayersalliance.com here, which I will endeavour to remember to link in the description below, reports that the NHS trusts spend at least 113, almost 114 million pounds on interpreters and translation services just for those couple of years. An average of 725,000 per NHS trust that replied. And indeed, on the NHS England website, the translation and interpreting in primary care is a standard thing. But one thing I absolutely can't agree with here is the disparity between those that are here, to put it bluntly, again, not to stir up hatred here, but to put it bluntly, those that are in the country illegally, albeit seeking asylum, but including those that have failed their asylum application. From my understanding, from what I've read, they get priority access to all of this treatment. However, if you are coming here as a student, which arguably is to improve the economy here, because foreign students pay a great deal to come and study in the UK. It's a great privilege too, but they pay a lot for that privilege. And ultimately, that is arguably going to improve the overall quality of life in the UK. They are required to pay a healthcare surcharge every year that they are a student in the UK. As you can see here, as part of the immigration application, they are required, in most cases, to pay this healthcare surcharge. And every year, students that are coming to the UK to study, each of those students and their dependents and those on the Youth Mobility Scheme visa will have to each pay £776 per year. For example, it says £1,552 for a 2-year visa, £776 per year for visa and immigration applicants who are under the age of 18 at the time of application, so children also have to pay this, £1,000 per year for all other visa and immigration applications, for example, £3,105 for a 3-year visa. Now, I can attest to this because, as I've said in previous videos, my wife came here as a student, had to pay all of these surcharges, had to pay all of the fees for applications and so on, ultimately going through the spouse visa process, put her through absolute hell, proving that we're in a real relationship, digging back emails and phone calls to prove that we were in a real relationship, jumping through hoop after hoop after hoop to prove that we were in a real relationship. All the while, she had no recourse to public funds and had to pay the healthcare surcharge. On the contrary, those that are here as undocumented and otherwise referred to as illegal migrants with a failed asylum application, according to what I've read so far, it is true that they get priority treatment and usually seen within 15 minutes. Something about that doesn't really strike quite right to me, notwithstanding that there is a requirement under the Equality Act to provide reasonable adjustments for those that may be of a vulnerable group. But how far do those reasonable adjustments go? Because, to put this in a nutshell, those that are here in this country illegally, that have applied for asylum and failed, or in the process of applying for asylum, get priority before everybody else. Now, that is purely on the basis that they are within this eligibility criteria and put in this group, and so it is deemed that they have difficulties, are deemed to be a vulnerable cohort requiring prompt access to healthcare services to address their immediate health needs and ensure appropriate referrals are made. This document, if you want to read it, is the LCS for asylum seekers from the North Central London website, and goes on to say, in many cases, asylum seekers will not have any documentation relating to their healthcare history, and some may not have access to healthcare for some time. It is essential, therefore, to provide comprehensive healthcare, including health checks, as early as possible, in order to detect any immediate healthcare needs and reduce any risk to individuals and the wider community, especially in relation to potential communicable diseases. Now, that is obviously a concern. If, to put it bluntly, I mean no disrespect, but to put it bluntly, if someone comes here from a foreign country carrying a disease, Obviously, it's not great for the wider community that disease is passed on to everyone else, and that therefore there is an argument that they receive healthcare so that it is not passed on to everybody else. Stopping them at the border is an entirely other problem, which I've spoke about in previous videos. Speaking of which, I'll come back to an update. I haven't even looked at it. I'll look at it while I'm filming to see the update on the small boat arrivals, because those are one of the highest risk areas. There's a thought that I was about to go off on a tangent for, but I'll come back to that in a minute. It says here, asylum seekers may face the same healthcare problems as the UK population. In addition, they may have poor awareness of the NHS and fear barriers of accessing treatment. On the contrary, I don't think there's poor awareness. I think that many of them, not all of them, but many of them, in my personal opinion, I think many of them know exactly what they're coming here for, and they know that the NHS is here. They know that they get this treatment. They know that they get priority, and personally, I think that's why a lot of them come here. It says here, some of them come from countries with an origin of poor healthcare, suffer health impacts, have experienced war, conflict and torture. Now, obviously, in these sort of cases, there is a humanity element to all of this, and those that are fleeing war and conflict and torture, etc., quite rightly, we should take care of. But if many of you press for my personal opinions, I usually reserve those for Black Belt Secrets. I'll link that channel in the description below. But I don't think it's an entirely controversial opinion to say that if they've come from France, which is a safe country, they perhaps should stay there, as many people have said in the comment section. So I'm not entirely against that idea. It says many have been separated from family, poor housing, etc. Some asylum seekers incorrectly believe that they're not entitled to free treatment, while some practices may think individuals are not entitled to free NHS services. I think that may be the case for some of them, to be fair. I don't know for a fact, but that may well be the case for some of them. But overall, they do get priority. Many people have asked me this. Is this true? It's been reported. It is absolutely true, because these websites report this. It has to be a planned attendance, but that just means that a team makes a referral and they go and they usually see him within 15 minutes. But I've read as well that is being operated in some areas as a walk-in system, where one of that I read said in South London it is a walk-in system. They're seen usually within 15 minutes. But when you look at things like this and contrast it with students coming here to study, paying many tens of thousands of pounds, I can assure you, many tens of thousands of pounds to study here at university, and have to pay thousands of pounds during their course as a surcharge. Now, I'm not against paying the surcharge. I'm against the disparity between who's having to pay it. And that just doesn't strike me as quite right. But anyway, that was the report for this video. For those that are wondering, those are where the documents are. You can go and find those, Google them. I won't be able to link them all, but Google them, find them, read them, form your own views based on all of the documents and the writing there, please. Don't just base it on my video here. But from my understanding, from what I've read, that those claims are true. If you like a blunt and brutal analysis and summary of what's going on, please do like the video. Please do subscribe to the channel. I depend on you, because I don't have some big fancy company behind me pushing all of this. It is just me. As I sit here now in the middle of a Saturday bringing these videos to you because someone has asked me to. So with that, I'm grateful to you for subscribing, and thank you for watching.